Okay guys, so today I'm going to walk you through the basic tool that I built to be able to pull the harmonic balancer off of the crankshaft and to pull the fan hub off of, the pulley that it threads onto. So it was very simple. I had a piece of 1/4 inch plate hanging around my shop, um, and it's some strap, right? So it's 1/4 inch thick, and this is the end that I notched out. So I made obviously. Obviously, you can see there's just a square, basically rough square, but square enough, and it fits on the fan, and it worked out great. I was able to hold the fan pulley with I think it was a 10 or maybe an 8 millimeter wrench, just regular box end combination wrench. And I held the pulley, and then I used this, and all it took was a little tap, and it broke it loose, and it spun off, and because it was left-hand threads, so like that's not the hard one to make. The harder part to make is the piece this end. Which happens to hold the harmonic balancer and also allows the socket to slip through to the bolt in the harmonic balancer that this piece here, this end, rests on top of the frame rail. So I could put I used a 1/2-inch drive breaker bar with a 2-foot cheater on top of that in order to break loose this harmonic balancer bolt. Is way overkill in my opinion, but anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna insert some clips. I'll show you, I'll set this up basically with the socket and stuff and show you just roughly how it works. And yeah, we'll go from there. So, all right, so this is the basic layout of how you would use such tool, right? So you got your wrench and your socket, and then you've got these 2 bolts, okay? So on the harmonic balancer, I think there were 6 bolts in total. But anyway, so I happened to have these longer bolts hanging around that were the correct thread. And those basically, they thread into the harmonic balancer, and this one threads into the harmonic balancer. This plate sits against the front of the harmonic balancer, so you tighten these up until it's tight against the front of the harmonic balancer. This side of the plate rests against the frame rail here, and then you take your wrench like this and you pull on your wrench to loosen up the bolt inside your harmonic balancer. Now, this is obviously a pretty crude, but like it worked in a pinch, right? So I instead of going and buying something, and look, I'm just gonna say it, everywhere around me doesn't carry anything for Range Rovers, Land Rover. I mean, like, it's just, I go to the parts store and they've got to order things because it's just not a popular vehicle in my area. So trying to find the correct tool to do this, to possibly rent it, is not really an option. Or, I mean, they'd probably have to order one in, and then it's like waiting for that. So instead of me waiting to do the job, I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I can build my own to be able to just keep going. So yeah, so this is what I came up with. Socket slides through this thing relatively snug, which is also nice because it helps stabilize the socket out here. So I could put a long cheater on my breaker bar to be able to have enough leverage to break that bolt loose. I'll get you, I hope this might help somebody who's thinking of possibly doing this but doesn't want to like buy the tools and stuff, or can't buy the tools or whatever else. I mean, this is basic plate. I know not everybody has, you know, just like flat strap hanging around their shop or whatever, or their house, but this is also probably not even $6 from a local metal mart if you were trying to buy a piece. Like, so yeah, anyway, that's the basic design of this tool here. Worked out slick. I just happen to have longer bolts that had the correct thread, so the correct thread pitch on them, that were the right size. So pretty sure these are like some old Toyota bolts or something. Couldn't tell you. It's just, this is why sometimes it's worth hanging on to OEM bolts out of, you know, cars and stuff, just because you never know when you might need something with a thread pitch that isn't like standard. Because like I've got nuts and bolts in the back, but for some reason I did not have anything this length that was this thread pitch, which is, it's a coarser thread pitch, right, than like medium or like the in-between thread pitch for metric. So yeah, anyway, hopefully this will help some of you guys. All right, so if you're curious, this hole here is roughly 1.348, okay? So that's inch and 348 thousandths, or 350 almost. This hole size here is 0.403. I mean, this one's the same. Rough distance, now I'm only gonna just eyeball the center of this, right? Which is all I did when I made this. I just eyeball center on all this stuff. So that's roughly 1.325 to the center, And about the same for this, you know, like about center distance to center of that, about 1.325. So if you make something remotely close to that, I mean, like this doesn't have to be perfect. I drilled this hole, I drilled all of these on just a basic little drill press. And I didn't really lay them out. I mean, like I used a Sharpie. A Sharpie is basically what I used to lay this stuff out. It was nothing critical. I didn't even pull calipers out when I built this. It was all measured off of with a measuring tape to get these holes here. But I mean, basically, if I'm giving you guys a little bit of information on if you want to build something like this, like center, I just centered this hole in the middle of the plate and made sure these were as close to on center. I mean, they're not perfectly on center, but it's just a rough tool. It worked good for me. Yeah. So there you go. And then this guy here, okay? So this end here, this measures 0.143. So if we go to millimeters, that would have been, I guess, about a 36 millimeter bolt, or full hex anyway. So like I said, none of this was made perfect. It's not like you got to be absolutely perfect when it comes to tools. Most of them have an allowance for differences, but it's just enough that it worked, you know, and it was super simple. It's just a piece of plate that's hanging around. So hope that helps you guys, and we'll keep you working in the right direction to get your vehicle back on the road. All right, so yeah, so that's the tool. I hope you guys got a little bit of information off of that. I guess I could give you the length of it too. That might help. So let me grab a tape measure real quick, and I'll give you the dimensions off of it. So that's 20 inches basically. It's just a hair over, but 20 inches long. It's a piece of 3-inch flat strap, which you guys can see. It's 3 inches. And it worked great. Yeah, so don't be afraid to make your own tools, guys. I mean, if it means you can keep doing the job you're doing on your vehicle to get it back up and running, then, you know, by all means, take the time it takes. I mean, and all in all, I think it took me about an hour to build this plate, which it was either an hour to build this plate or maybe an hour driving around trying to find the tool. And it's like, now I've got the tool that I don't ever have to, you know, get rid of. I'll just, you know, write on this thing that it's for the Range Rover and just keep it, you know, just keep it hanging out in my drawer of my toolbox. All right, guys, so I'll give you an update with the Range Rover. It runs good. Been taking my kid to school and back. I'm in here now. I'll start her up. Starts up great. It has a couple warnings on the dash, which I'll take care of, but it runs great. It drives honestly pretty good. It's pretty smooth. It's not as smooth as I was hoping for, which, I mean, I guess the internet led me to believe that these things are like super plush and feels like you're riding on clouds because it is on air suspension. But I mean, like, it's still on 20-inch wheels with low profile tires. So I mean, that, you know, takes some of the ride quality out of any vehicle. So you know, we'll just go for a little ride. Taking it out on the road. Let's go for a drive. So honestly, the thing drives really good. It's a really smooth ride. Shifts nice. It's quiet. That's one thing that I think I like most about it, is it's quiet in here. It's not super loud, which, you know, I guess if you're paying for a luxury vehicle, it better be pretty quiet, right? Like, that's part of the luxury of it. But yeah, I mean, like, everything works as it should. It's really peppy. Honestly, it's got more oomph than I thought it would for being naturally aspirated. But like, I guess the supercharged version of this has got to be pretty good. I mean, like, it's got to feel pretty fast. If this thing's naturally aspirated and it's got some pretty good punch and pep to it, like, I could only imagine what the supercharged version felt like, especially when it's running good. But yeah, I mean, it's a Range Rover. If you guys haven't experienced a Range Rover, I would say it's at least worth it to experience for yourself, at least once. I'm not saying that everybody should go out and buy one, you know, because not everybody can do that, and not everybody can work on them. I understand that, but if you have the means to work on one, go buy yourself one. Try it out. Work on it a bit, and if it's not for you, get rid of it, you know. I don't understand why everybody's so dead set on, like, oh, I've had Toyotas my whole life, and that's all I've ever owned was a Toyota. Or like, some people are like, oh yeah, Mazdas. I've had 5 Mazdas. And I'm like, variety, man. You gotta have some variety. How are you supposed to know that that was the only car that you've liked? I mean, like, yeah, most people look at it from the maintenance standpoint and how, yeah, this thing hasn't cost me anything in maintenance, and it's been awesome and super reliable, and, you know, I get that, I understand that, but if you're just running back and forth from work 90% of your drive time, why not try a few different vehicles out? You know, like, at least that's the way I look at it. But yeah, it's solid. This thing's sweet. It's got just a little bit that I'm gonna end up fixing up. I did have somebody comment stating they'd like to donate a tail light to this, so I'm gonna see if I can possibly get that from them, and then the outside will be 100% basically. And yeah, I mean, work on a couple small other little things. And I mean, I'd like to get some different wheels and tires still, which I'm looking. I'm gonna see what I can do to get something that is more off-road friendly, a little more aggressive, something that has a little more cushion to the sidewall, give it a little bit better ride. But also, I'm gonna take this thing off-road and actually use it. It's got different traction control off-road modes, and I figured that they built this thing to go off-road. Most of the people who bought them did not use them off-road, so I want to see what it's like. And we might do some upgrades to this thing. I'm not afraid to push it to its limits, and then see if it's worth upgrading. You know, like, my philosophy is if you're going to take it off-road and actually use it, the cheaper the vehicle, the more fun you have. So get that visor down. That's a little too bright for me. So yeah, if you guys like this, like the content of this, I've got other cars, other vehicles I plan on doing some more with. I've also got a really good family friend that I'm going to do a engine replacement in his Mazda, which, if you guys remember, back in the early 2000s, Mazda 3, that was the car that everybody wanted to have. So he's owned his since new. It's got a bunch of miles on it. He let the oil get low, so now she's got rod knock. So we're gonna get a JDM engine for it, and I'm gonna pull the old engine out. We're gonna swap everything over and put it back in and get it back on the road for him. And then that car's probably gonna be for sale. So, but yeah, anyway, I'll take you guys along for the ride, and I'll show you more when it comes to this Range Rover, because it won't be the last time you're going to see it. I do plan to keep it unless life decides for me that I need to sell it, which sometimes that happens. So I'll take you guys along for the ride either way. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. And likes go a long way when it comes to videos and how they get shared. So yeah, like and subscribe if you want, and we'll see you guys on the next one. So yeah, thanks for watching.